guys, and welcome back to my channel. This video is probably going to be more of a compilation of the messy middle of my fertility journey of trying for baby number 2. So technically my husband and I started trying when Dylan was 9 months old. I'm filming this and he's 15 months old, so it's been about 6 months, and I did do a video about why I went back to my naturopath to get some hormones tested. So basically what I noticed after I stopped nursing and Dylan was 9 months, that my luteal phase was too short. So I kind of just stepped back, tracked my cycle for 2 months, and noticed that my luteal phase was about 10 days. And for fertility, it really should be about 12 to 16. So I had a feeling that my progesterone was too low. And I had been feeling pretty tired after my period was over. So when I met with my naturopath, we were like, let's look at thyroid again, because that was off when I was pregnant with Dylan. Let's retest progesterone and let's check your iron, which can essentially, I guess, be lower after childbirth and nursing. So there's a lot that is like pulled on the body. So it's just kind of like a brief recap. And so basically I had to start taking thyroid medication and then use progesterone supplementation during the luteal phase and increase my iron. And then I started going to see my acupuncturist to kind of help with my fatigue after my period was over. And so she was giving me some herbs that I tried for the last 2 months, and it was like only 10 days at a time. And it definitely helped me ovulate a little bit sooner. Last month, my luteal phase was 14 days, which was really great. This month, I was very surprised because I had a 24-day cycle, which is very abnormal for me. It's usually about 27, 28 days, and I'm always very consistent. So I was like a bit surprised. And so basically my acupuncturist had told me that our cycle can go through a reset when you start like a herbal process, basically. And so that's essentially what happened. But I actually thought that we were pregnant because I felt a cramp with a slight bleed. So I actually thought it was an implantation cramp about 8 or 9 days post ovulation. So I actually thought like maybe we were pregnant and it didn't stick. And I got my period sooner. Like there's really no way of knowing. And so I just kind of wanted to share some of these stories with you as we kind of work through our fertility journey, because we often see women posting about being pregnant, or, maybe they had a miscarriage, or, they kind of talk about their infertility struggles. But I really wanted to use this as a place of empowerment to also discuss the changes I've noticed with my cycle in a very positive way when we know what to observe within the body and how to seek additional support when we need it. So basically my body has been pretty depleted after 9 months of pregnancy, 9 months of nursing, having a baby, moving. There's just stress of like a new mom and just kind of navigating that life, even though I work really hard on managing my stress levels and keeping everything as balanced as possible. We basically had to go through a few months of a reset. And I have definitely been feeling just feelings of disappointment and sadness over wanting something to happen right away, but then recognizing and having faith in my body that I'm actually going through this process in a form of preparation so that we're ready, not only for me physically to have another child, but emotionally, what does that also do? Because I feel like you can want those things so much, but so much of our life ends up changing to accommodate a growing family and basically adding a new member to your family. So today I'm on day 4 of my period. It should end by tomorrow. And my period came on Sunday morning, and I felt a lot of grief and sadness. And I always told myself that I wouldn't be one of those women who end up crying when you get your period when you're trying. But basically it's just been 6 months of weighing on my brain and thinking about it and making a lot of changes and noticing a lot of positive changes with my body and really getting it back to where it was before I had Dylan. Because I definitely have noticed, I don't want to say like a form of depletion, but I was definitely noticing that my body was not as optimized and functioning as well as it was before Dylan. And so just understanding that part of the process is also educating me on how to support my body hormonally after having a child. And so this is really going to help with after we have baby number 2. And I think one of the most positive things that I came up against this month when I I took a few minutes to just cry on Sunday morning because I just really needed that emotional release, because I actually had thought that we were pregnant, and we very well could have been, which means that we're moving in the right direction and we're getting closer. But I just remember feeling this really grounding sense of you're ready, because I think there was a few months when we first started trying that I actually wasn't emotionally ready. I just kept thinking, I had a lot of fear and anxiety around how to handle a pregnancy with Dylan at such a young age. And, if we did get pregnant sooner, it just would have been that much harder, I think, taking care of two children. So I think I also needed an emotional period of preparation to prepare myself to really be confident that I can do it with a feelings of grace, versus kind of being thrown into it and then you're just more stressed out about it and more overwhelmed. So I think that the body is really smart, and then the universe always delivers what we need. And I kept reminding myself of that. And some of the positive changes I've noticed with my cycle is that my luteal phase is longer, so it's absolutely there to be able to support a pregnancy. I'm ovulating every single month. I've noticed that my energy is definitely much higher. I did do another lab of a saliva test that tests all of like the sex hormones and testosterone and DHA, and just kind of understanding where my estrogen and progesterone were at. And everything looked really good. Like I felt like I passed, I guess it was like a hormone test. I felt like I passed the test, like everything was in really good shape. And then I did have to double the dose of my thyroid medication because one of my thyroid hormones has been too low. I think that's more genetic. I'm pretty sure that my mom has hyperthyroidism, and my sister, I think, might struggle a little bit with an inactive thyroid as well. And it's just more of genetic and something to pay attention to as I go through life at this point. But it can impact your fertility. And so basically what you can, if you ever do any temperature tracking when you're trying to conceive, I did it more when we were trying with Dylan. I haven't really done it this time around because I found it too stressful. I think every woman has their own feelings about it. And I tested it a few times just to kind of see where it was at. And my body temperature was essentially too low, which basically goes into your thyroid. And once I doubled the medication in conversations with my naturopath, I'd definitely been working with the doctor on it. It went up by a full degree. And so now it's actually been staying higher. So my body temperature is higher, which is really great for when you're trying to conceive. So that's another positive that I noticed this past month. So as I've been kind of feeling the emotions and, just feeling the grief, I'm trying to also honor the space that we have with Dylan right now, and really trying not to rush the process, and really trusting my body and trusting my timeline when it comes to children. But there's just a lot of fear on my journey of trying to conceive, of just, are we going to be able to do it? And I don't know. I just feel like there's a part of me that won't feel safe until we have like our next and last child here. And that's essentially what I've been feeling, of like this unsettled energy that our family isn't complete yet. And we're ready for that last family member, but also making sure that we're taking time in the process to enjoy where we're at and not trying to rush, and really understanding our timeline. So I share that with you wherever you are on your journey. If it's something where you want children in the future and you've had the same kind of concerns, or maybe you're in the middle of it and you're feeling the same way, of that unsettled energy of like, I don't know if I will 100% feel safe and secure until we can bring that last baby home. And so every time I get my period, I just think like, we're obviously not there yet. And I really try to check my fears and really be objective and look at the signs that my body is giving, because I feel like that guides us on our path, and it really leads me to where I need to dive deeper. And now we're at the point where I've done everything that I can. My body is now in the most perfect alignment to be able to have a baby, where 6 months ago it wasn't. So I feel really good about that, and I'm really hanging on to that positivity and really trusting the process. And I thought by filming this video and just kind of sharing some of the messy middle and just kind of on the journey this time around, you'll find comfort where you are as well. Today is day 18 of my cycle, and we're currently in the 2-week wait, which I can't stand the name of that, but I get it. And I feel like when we first started trying with Dylan, like, you try not to think about it, especially when you're new in terms of like having children. But now that this is our second time wanting to have a baby, and I've been making so many changes to my cycle, it's been taking a few months. So now the 2-week wait, it's just been more confusing, and I really try to like not make it feel overwhelming, but I can't deny that like it's something that we really want and that I find myself thinking about every day. So I feel like it's such a challenge to your mindset of like, how can you stay calm and balanced, yet still feeling hopeful, yet don't want to get your hopes up. Like, I just feel like it's a wide range of emotions. So I don't know if anyone else has felt that way. I'm pretty sure that they do. We do not take pregnancy tests until I have a missed period. I know that some women will start taking them like 8 days post ovulation, 9 days, and they kind of keep doing that until they either get their period or they miss their period or they get a positive test. I personally find that too stressful, and I just don't want to have to necessarily do that every day, especially when like your body wouldn't know if you're pregnant yet anyway. I know some people can get test results pretty early, but it's just so dependent on like when the egg actually implants, so it can be like earlier or sooner, like you just don't know. So this morning I just kind of woke up thinking about it, but trying not to like get my hopes up. Because I've made so many changes to my cycle, I've been seeing an acupuncturist who's been giving me some herbs and really help prepping my body for ovulation. I've been working with my naturopath. I have had to supplement with progesterone and increase thyroid medication and increase iron, like really try to get my body out of the postnatal depletion and more into a thriving state so we can support a second pregnancy. But with all those changes, it has made other like symptoms come forward that actually mimic pregnancy symptoms. So as I mentioned in the last clip, like we had thought we were pregnant the last time, which we could have been, like you just don't know. But it's just really trying to get in the right mindset and frame of mind. I feel like that's really important. And I feel like it's just really hard. And like, you want to just know, like, is it going to happen? And I think that's where I don't want to say worried, but just kind of sad because like if someone had told me like, yeah, it'll happen in 3 months, 4 months, a year, I just feel like we're looking for an absolute. And it's just one of those things where you have to really go on faith. And my naturopath and acupuncturist tell me that like, you know too much about the body basically, and it's time to like relax into it, which I totally get. I think when I started the process, I was recognizing a lot of signs that would have made it more difficult. And obviously, like we weren't getting pregnant. But I also needed a grace period to mentally and emotionally feel prepared to not only take on another pregnancy, but also to care for 2 kids. I just feel like there is a time period that I needed to emotionally prepare for it. And so when I was talking to my husband last month or like a couple weeks ago when I got my period, I was like, I feel like the last few months I was making a lot of changes and really trying to get my body back into alignment. I knew, okay, it could take a few cycles, and it has. But I was like, now I feel like we're in alignment. So I was like, that's really positive and like really hopeful. And I feel more optimistic about it because I can see the changes in my cycle. I can see the changes in my ovulation. I can see the changes in my luteal phase. I can see the changes with how my period is. Like all of these are really good indications of our body and our fertility. And I keep really leaning on that. But I just wanted to share the messy middle and where my mindset has been at of like really trying to battle staying positive and confident versus the fear and worry that comes forward, which I know like we shouldn't feel, but I can't deny that I feel it. And it's real and it's there. And it's something that you think about when you want to be able to have kids. And as I mentioned again in my last clip, like there is just this sense of energy inside of me that will not feel 100% calm until we have like our family complete. And I think that's also like an energetic motivation too of like putting me down that path and really being diligent on my health, really being diligent on, our lifestyle and getting everything prepared, because that means our baby is coming. So I don't know, that's just where I'm at today. And, it's also the luteal phase where you feel, naturally calm. I feel very calm. I feel very serene. I just have to keep checking my mental thoughts of just like letting go and allowing the timeline to come forward. I'm very much type A, so I want to control. I want to know when things happen. I want everything to have a plan. I want everything to fit in a pretty little box with a pretty little bow. And I know that this is also part of my growth of really learning how to step back and just be and trust. And I have a wonderful team around me. I have studied hormones basically, which led me into being able to have children. Like, I feel like if I didn't have the education that I have now, or just even understand my body on such a deep level, like we would have had a much harder road. And I keep reminding myself that, you're put on this path for a reason, and just understanding your body. And that's why I love talking to you. I love helping my clients. I love talking to women about like what our bodies are trying to tell us, because then it motivates us to then make the change based on what our goals are. And, one of my main goals right now is to be able to complete our family. So yeah, that's just where I'm at. So today is April 23rd. It's day 28 of my cycle, which I'm technically one day late, but I'm not automatically thinking we're pregnant since I was using a lot of the Chinese herbs. And then last cycle, it kind of like reset everything. So is it, I was routinely having a 27-day cycle. Is it then shifting into a 28? My luteal phase today is day 14. So that's positive regardless of whatever direction this takes. So I'm just like really happy with that. But I feel like I'll know more tomorrow, because the only other times where I had a longer than 14-day luteal phase were when we were pregnant. So we'll see. I've been feeling definitely more nauseous the last 2 weeks. I felt some cramping on day 26 of my cycle, so 2 days ago, and I actually thought I was getting my period, and then my period didn't come. And then something else that's different that I don't know, is it just because like my cycle has been resetting, or is it because we're pregnant? Because this is like the game that you end up playing every single month when you're trying, is I would sometimes have spotting before my period would come, which is how I would know my period would come. And I haven't had any of that. So I don't know, is it just because the Chinese herbs really helped reset everything and everything just is more back in alignment, or are we pregnant? So what I'm doing differently this time is I'm not like Googling anything. I'm not like, over analyzing, like really just trying to take it as it comes. And then what I have been doing the last few days is taking my temperature every morning. So I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I used to do temperature tracking when we were trying to get pregnant with Dylan. But it's when you start tracking your temperature after you ovulate to essentially when you get your period. But basically you would do it every single day, and you want a rise in your temperature, because that means like progesterone is increasing. So before I upped my thyroid medication, my temperature was not rising the way that it should have been. Like my body was like too cool, basically. So once I doubled the thyroid medication with my naturopath, within 2 days, my temperature jumped up to where it actually should have been. And it's actually been staying level, which is great. So what I've been doing the past few days is taking my temperature every morning, because it will help give me indication if I'm going to have my period or we're pregnant. Because basically the morning of your period, you'll notice that your temperature drops, and that's a signal that your body is about to have its period, either like later in the day. So I've been taking my temperature the past few mornings, and it's consistently stayed at 98 degrees, 98.2, which is really positive for my body, because normally when I was taking the temperature, it would be like hovering around like 97. And then when it jumped in the luteal phase, it might be like 97.5, which is like actually an indication that your thyroid needs to be looked at. So if you're temperature tracking, it actually can help you dive deeper into your health, which I find helpful. But I also didn't want to do it every single day of the luteal phase, because I just mentally, it didn't help me. But right now it's actually helping me in the morning give indication of like, am I going to be getting my period today or not? So this morning my temperature didn't drop. So I'm not expecting my period today. Tomorrow I feel like we'll know more. But what's interesting is if we are pregnant, This baby would have a due date within about a week sooner than when Dylan was born. So they essentially could very well be born very close together in terms of their birthdays. But again, like I find myself having those thoughts and like attaching myself to it. And I have to like backtrack and be like, don't get ahead of yourself, because I'm really trying not to set myself up for disappointment. Like I just don't, it's a really hard mental game when it's something you want so much and you're ready and you want to get the party started basically. And I'm just trying to take it one moment at a time today. But I just wanted to hop on and share that with you of just kind of what it looks like too, of like around the time of when you're expecting your period, what happens when you're making a lot of changes for your health and you're noticing a lot of positive benefits, but it can also shift your cycle in a more positive way where you're like, oh, well, it's longer, so that must mean we're pregnant. And I'm not jumping to that conclusion immediately because I really don't know. My cycle used to be 28 days. And then as I was like trying to balance everything, it was 27 days. So it's like, is my body just getting back into that alignment that used to be my normal? I don't know. So we'll see. I am officially 3 days late on my period, and it's currently a 16-day luteal phase, which I never have unless I've been pregnant. So my husband and I have not taken a test yet because we don't want to get a false negative. So basically, like you can need like a few days for the pregnancy hormone to increase to be able to show up on a pregnancy test. So when we've tested in the past, we always waited about 4 or 5 days after my missed period. So tomorrow morning will be day 4, and we're going to take a test and see. I guess I'm like emotionally still trying to protect myself, but then also allowing myself to feel feelings of hope, because I've been doing, the math of my cycle. And I was telling my husband when we were out for a walk yesterday that, it's like, it really comes down to a lot of math on our cycle, and just based on how much work that I've been doing, how much support I've been giving to my body. I felt like last month my body really came into the exact alignment for fertility. So I was just like, man, like if we really are pregnant, it just goes to what I truly believed at my core, that when my body is in alignment and optimized for fertility, we can get pregnant quickly. But there still is a part where you're like trying to protect yourself. You don't want to get overly excited. And then, let's say the test is positive, still being mindful of the first trimester and just understanding how much can go into it, because like basically the cells of once like the egg is fertilized and implanted, the cells divide so rapidly that sometimes you can miscarry because something isn't like code-wise in the cell isn't like correct, and your body recognizes that. So really there's so much that is out of your control, and I just keep trying to focus on like, what can I control? And that's supporting my body, taking care of myself. And today is Monday, and I definitely felt more fatigue Saturday and Sunday and tried to take as much rest as possible. I've been having some breast tenderness, which I don't ever get before my period. So for me, that's more of a pregnancy symptom. And I've been having a lot of lower back pain, just from like bending over and like standing up. I can notice that that's different, and I don't ever feel like that before my period either. So that could also be a pregnancy symptom for me as well. So just having some of these more aches that I don't typically have. And I think that's important to know too, is like recognizing like what is different in your body. I think it's important for us to even know like what is our normal, so that we can even understand then what is essentially outside of it that could be telling us something else. The body has so many signs that it's communicating with us all the time, and we have to be able to know what they are and what they could be. So I'm emotionally muted today because I'm excited and hopeful, but also still emotionally protecting myself. Guys, it's been a few days. My period had been late. We actually waited 4 days after my missed period to take a pregnancy test, and it's positive, which is very, very exciting. I actually needed to take a few days before I can get on camera to just like sit with it, really honor the whole journey of getting here, but then also finding myself still feeling emotionally, I don't want to say like maybe subdued is the best word, because I feel like, we have miscarried before. I just want to be as cautious as possible. But I'm very excited. We are officially due on December 28th, and Dylan's birthday is on Christmas Eve. So basically like right when he turns 2, we'll also be having our second little one. I did tell my mom, and it's just very exciting to be able to share the news with some of those that are really close with us. But honestly, when I sat down to film this video, it was really to take a beat and kind of talk through like emotionally how I've been feeling on this journey, because I feel like, I know these things can take time, but it's really hard emotionally, like each month, like you're trying and you're getting your period. And I definitely felt that I needed a grace period to get my body back in alignment to have another baby. And, that process did take 5 months for my body to really be optimized to the level it needed to be able to take on another pregnancy. So that confidence is there, where a couple months ago, I was actually nervous based on how I was feeling. And then to add on, the layer of pregnancy and another postpartum, like the universe really ends up giving you everything that you want. And I think I definitely get caught up in the timeline of it. So I guess for me, it was just a fear of, can we do this again? And I'm really glad that all the changes that I made, everything that I did to really optimize my health for another child worked. And basically, like once my cycle got back in alignment, we then got pregnant on like the first try of when, your cycle is where it should be, which is very exciting. And I feel like give hope to everybody else on this journey of really diving deeper into your health. What other changes can you be doing? I really focus on emotional, spiritual, physical, like really creating space for another child, really trying to figure out emotionally what needed to change in me right now. I know a lot more is going to change as we go through this journey. And once we have 2 kids, I feel like each time you add a member to your family, there's so much like growth and pivoting and change that happens. And just really knowing that it's not some quick, easy thing. For those who get pregnant very quickly, maybe they don't need as much transition time as I would to prepare for it. They're probably also more hormonally strong than my body is. And I was really depleted after having Dylan. So, I thank you for being with me through this video. I honestly thought it would be a couple months of sharing, how I was feeling. And I also didn't know how that would come together of, seeing each passing month. So I'm glad that there's happy news at the end of this video. So thank you so much. And I will be sharing other pregnancy stuff that you guys would like to know. And, if you have any questions, comments, definitely let me know.